Even though you feel like you know what you need to be doing, even though you feel like you have all the lists, even though you have asked ChatGPT or any AI that you use, and they all told you what to do, and you still find yourself not taking those actions. And I really want to dedicate some time today to solve this problem or invite you to solve this problem with me. Hi, in case we haven't met, I see that I have a lot of new followers. Amazing. Welcome. My name is Isela Romanova. I help humanitarians transition and make that transitioning successful, whether it's within the sector, to the private sector, or being their own bosses. And therefore, if you would like to work with me, there is a link below and you can contact me. So the topic of not taking actions and instead replacing actions with overthinking, with confusion, with fear, with a lot of assumptions is what's happening a lot of the time when we transition. And that's normal on the one hand, but on the other, we also know that that's not a solution that we're looking for, right? Currently, the way that we make anything successful, whether it's within the sector that we keep applying for jobs, whether we keep applying for foundations, or whether we start applying to the private sector or even start our own business, what we need to do is we need to be doing some actions. We need to make a decision. We need to be willing to feel very uncomfortable doing something that we haven't done, and most importantly, we need to be taking a systemic approach. We no longer can do the things the way that we used to, where we applied for something, waited for several months, and then hopefully we got the job interview and then we got to the job. That is not working currently. And we know this by having observed a lot of humanitarians' journey from last year, right? So the crisis happened roughly in January last year, well, even before, but the symptoms and manifestations of them happened last January, and then now we're looking at a year and 2 months essentially. So a lot of the time that we spent on shock and processing, and that's absolutely normal and human, except that now if we keep staying or keep repeating the same patterns that we did last year, then we will be really getting ourselves into a desperate situation. And maybe some of us are already in that desperate situation. And then once we are in the desperate situation, it's very challenging to get out of it. So therefore, what we need to be doing is taking actions. And that action includes making decision. That action includes doing things that are very uncomfortable, doing things in new ways that we haven't done, doing things that we never used to do before, and doing them systematically and with persistence and commitment. Now, I'm hoping that by me going into details as to giving you examples of how I've been coaching clients even today on why they're not taking actions, what are the situations, and then how to get ourselves to take actions. I'm hoping that this will give you a permission to first recognize this is very common, but also recognize that if you don't take action anymore, then we're really getting into territories where it might be very difficult to come out of. And of course, also, it is not helping our financial situation, probably our savings going down. We losing money by not earning in those months and maybe several months that we haven't earned. So every losses restored. right? So I have been coaching clients on different occasions on why they're not taking action, right? So one client that I was coaching today, she wants to transition to the private sector, and she had been prioritizing a lot of different important things, obviously, like health, family topics, and all of these are important parts of our lives, obviously. But also, another reason why she kept postponing or not really taking action was because she was feeling, I don't know how to position myself in those conversations in the private sector, right? Meaning that what am I really selling to the private sector? Because I'm a generalist, and what do I really say to the private sector as to what I'm capable of doing? And she had several conversations with the private sector before, where the people were saying, are you, what kind of profession do you do? Are you lawyering? Are you an engineer? What is it? And then she felt like this anxiety of not knowing how to respond to them, because she doesn't want to do lawyering, even though she has the lawyering background. But she also doesn't want to do anything that related to sales. So then feeling like, okay, I don't know what position or how to position myself. So we were coaching on how to position herself in a way that gets her interesting to the private sector, right? So another client of mine was not taking action because she thought that avoiding taking action in one direction or another somehow saves her from a lot of problems that she is afraid that she needs to be solving, right? So an example that she was giving me, that, well, if I don't like, her relationship seems to be ending and she is in this crossroads, and she feels like, if I don't look at this topic and I just keep going and living and surviving, then somehow everything will be okay, even though she's not happy in that relationship and she would like to build a future and family. And it seems like with this person it's not possible. And then she's also not taking a decision about the job, of which job to take, even though she wants to start doing her own business, but then she's afraid. And at the same time, she's not really getting a job with the private sector where she could be getting a job. So you can see that she keeps avoiding all of these decisions and taking action, and then believing that if she makes a decision about leaving the relationship, she will feel a lot of negative emotions. If she takes a job with the private sector, even though she wants to start her own business, she will feel bad that she's again coming back to some situation in the corporate that she didn't want to, right? So her belief is that if she just keeps avoiding these decisions and actions, then somehow everything will be safe and okay, even though that's not the case, right? So all of these examples to show you that our brain will want to not take actions, because our brain says that if we don't take action and just keep thinking about it, keep asking other people questions. I was even coaching another client today, this morning, where he was saying that usually before taking a decision, he calls all the friends that he can think of, ask all of their opinions, and then even they give their opinions, he feels like, is this really the right opinion? Am I doing a wrong thing? I'm afraid to lose everything, what I have built. Excuse me. If I go to the field and do the work again, then I will not have my life, right? So you can see all of these, like, not taking action situation is coming from being afraid that if we do take an action, then we'll feel uncomfortable, even though we are also realizing that not taking an action and not taking a decision is making us feel very guilty and very uncomfortable, and not moving forward, feeling lost. All of these feelings we're feeling anyway, even if we don't take an action. Right. So I was like in 2 sessions with my clients today, we were discussing this really, the details of how they were both saying that if I don't take a decision, I will feel guilty and I feel like I'm not really progressing, I'm not really doing anything, and that feels very bad. If I take a decision, then oh my God, now I need to start doing things, start going forward to uncertain territories, and that feels bad. And that's really it, is that you not taking decision or taking any action is really coming from fearing that if you do take a decision, then you would need to follow up or you would need to take some actions. If you do decide to go and commit to this route, then you need to make things work, and you are afraid that that's not going to happen. You might be afraid that it won't work anyway. You might be afraid that you're losing all the things that you have built. Whatever those things that will just keep you where you equally don't feel good about it. So I was telling, literally before this live session, I was telling my client who's moving to or transitioning to the private sector, I was telling her that let us replace all of the shitty feelings with actions. Can we do that, right? Can we replace all of these feelings about confusion, about how the private sector doesn't want this and doesn't want that, even though she doesn't have enough experience or context to be actually making those assumptions. But of course, in the fear mode, our brain will keep making all those assumptions that we don't even know if they're true or not, right? So that's why I was telling her, can we recognize that all of these feelings and assumptions and judgments and fears will keep coming until we start taking actions in one direction and commit to it. As I said, we're living in a world now where doing things one at a time or in a way to keep doing things the way that we've always done is not working. You all are witnesses of it. You are witnessing the results that you want to. Then we need to start looking at, okay, there must be a reason why it's not working. So let me find another way to make things work. Because taking action only can be done by you. Solving problems also only can be done by you. No one else is going to come and do that for you, or neither can they do that for you either. Right? So therefore, knowing that you not taking action, which is making a decision, taking action on that decision, stay committed to that decision, keep implementing your promises to yourself, and keep learning from that process is the way to go. But because it's so challenging and it makes us go through a lot of emotions that we're not really good at processing, or that we're not really good at handling, then we feel like if we just don't take action, if we just keep listening to everyone else, if we just keep thinking about it, if we just keep getting ready for it, somehow we'll be safe, is an illusion. I was telling my client today, this morning, that we have learned in the last year how system handles crisis, meaning it handles in ways that are very chaotic. It handles in ways that are not merit-based, unfortunately. It handles crisis in a way that we don't know how they came to that decision and why they made that decision, which all show indications of how we can no longer rely on the system to be having our stability, to be having our financial freedom, to be doing the things that we want to the way that we thought it was possible back in the day. Therefore, if we cannot rely on the system, if we can't rely on those job contracts, even like my client was saying today, this morning, that he has an indefinite contract, but he knowing how circumstances are currently, he shouldn't be relying on that indefinite contract, right? And that's really, I think, summing up of how currently the situation is. So if we can't rely on those indefinite contracts, if we can't rely on the system, if we can't rely on other people somehow taking care of us, because we know that that's not happening currently, even we're not sure if our pension fund will continue existing, right? Therefore, we need to learn finally how to rely on ourselves. Just the way when we are great professionals, we are very reliable, right? We're very reliable to other people. We get things done. We accomplish and keep our promises. We always do things the way that we say we would. That mentality and mindset we need to bring to our personal goals and professional goals in these days. And the better we get at it, the better we can make the transitioning successful. And when it comes to taking action, it's the same thing. We need to learn how to have that identity of a professional who gets things done, who makes things successful, who makes things accomplished at the highest level. Then we need to have the ability to be processing a lot of emotions that we somehow keep avoiding, because that's part of the process anyway. And we need to learn how to take actions, and major actions, that brave and bold actions that gets us to the outcome that we want without sacrificing, compromising too much. And my job and my goal is to help you translate or even take that identity to your personal and professional goals now. Learn how to build that identity of being the person who can rely on yourself rather than on the system, to be able to handle whatever the emotions that you have in your way, and most importantly, take actions. Knowing that the reason why you're not taking action is there is the fear, or there is some emotion that's blocking you. You know how to unblock it, you keep going. That's my goal and my support of humanitarians. So that's why I would love for you to really take this time to watch and rewatch if necessary, to start really recognizing that there is no more time to be not taking actions. And if we are taking actions, but those actions are coming from a bit of, I don't know if it works and let me just try and who knows, then it may not work the way you want to. So we need to go into systematic way of taking actions, coming from the identity of that great professional that we are, who say, I get things done, I do things the way I say I would, and at the highest standard, because that's who I am. And if you would like to work on this, come coach with me. I would love to support you in this transitioning process from every, like all the elements of transitioning. I would like to support you to go through, whether it's application, whether it's networking, whether it's selling, whatever it is, that I would like for you to do this from this identity.